Ready? Oh, okay. Welcome. This is Committee at Whole. It's 6:35 on March 9th. First of all, I'd like to thank all the council members for spending a little extra time after your committee meetings, staying around for this. And this is items that we usually do a little earlier in the year, but timing was a lot of things this year. So we're discussing the rules of council, and with the only input that came back for any possible changes to be made came from Mr. Schilling. So I will let him briefly describe what he wants changed.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. President. Back on July of this year, we had a committee meeting that was essentially set up as a special committee meeting and with a very limited agenda. And as you read our council rules of procedure, we have no provisions for such meetings. And so tonight I would like to talk to you about this a little bit, and we have some options that we can look at, but it boiled down to essentially three different things. And I've given you a list of the different items I'd like to discuss. And number one would be a committee meeting discussion may not be limited to only items listed in the agenda. A committee member has the authority to raise questions, offer amendments to, or suggest legislation as long as the questions, amendments, or proposed legislation would normally be considered or assigned to the committee in session. Again, like I say, we have the other option to say that we have the ability to have special committees, or have a limited agenda on a committee meeting. I think that I think in this case more is better. I think we should have the ability to the committee meetings is many times is where the sausage is made, and I think it would be a more discussions and ideas that we get in a committee meeting, the better it will be. And so I think we should be allowed to discuss things that maybe aren't on the agenda, for whatever reason, or things that are all on the agenda, and then we go down a different direction with those items and can discuss those types of things. So I would think that we would want as much of an open committee meeting as possible. Number two is a special meeting of a council committee with modified or restricted agenda may only be called by the president of the council, and with the concurrence of a simple majority of council. We have that for standing special committees, and I think this thing would also fit into that scenario. Again, sort of following the rules of special committees under Rule 1, Section E, Committee Subsection 2, Special Committees. The committee chairman or any other, or the committee chairman or any committee of council does not have the authority to call a special committee meeting of council with the intent to restrict or otherwise modify committee agenda rules or outlines under number 1 above. So again, this is, if you want to go back to the meeting, it was on July 14th, and it was about an hour-long meeting. We were discussing the improvements to Prouty Plaza, and we were, as committee members, we were not allowed to make any recommendations, or like typically we provide recommendations. Yeah, we accept this, or no, we don't, or we got to do it this way. We weren't allowed to do any of that during this committee meeting. It was billed strictly as here's first of all, it was in-depth look at what was going to happen on Prouty Plaza. But again, for some of us, that was the first time we saw some of this stuff. And so again, I think these types of meetings, that we do have a special meeting that's been called by the president, then I think this really defined to one specific item, then I think we should have the ability to make comments on it, to make adjustments, make recommendations back to council. And then the third item is the committee meeting in session cannot be concluded, conducted, or ended or adjourned except by a majority vote of the to adjourn by the committee members in attendance. And I said here, in the event of a tie, the vote of committee chairperson will decide the motion. He said, well, how can you have a tie? Well, many times we have committee members, committees only meet with 2 people. So we have one takes over the role of chairman, and so in that case, who's ever in the role of chairman would then be able to have the deciding vote on that, where there's 2, and there would be a tie on the vote. But again, that when you go back to the end of that meeting, I think that myself was not ready to adjourn. I think we wanted to discuss some of this stuff, and it was just the committee chairman just adjourned the meeting. And I don't know if Mrs. Westfall wants to kick in on that, but anyway, that's my feelings on that. And so I think that should not happen. We don't end a committee meeting because the chairman wants to. So that's this way around it. So those are the 3 changes I'd like to make. Anybody open for discussions on this?
Yeah, we'll take them one at a time. First of all, the meeting you referenced, to make it clear, the president did not call that. It was a normal committee meeting that was called. It wasn't a special meeting of the whole.
Well, it became a special meeting by the chairman.
Because it got kicked, the chairman of the committee, not by the president.
No, I didn't say that, Mr. President.
Okay.
I apologize for that. If there was any confusion on that.
I want to make that clear. Number 1, you're saying committees discussing limited to items on the agenda. How far afield are you planning or wanting to go on that? I mean, I personally feel it should stay on the topic. And we do have the ability right now, or they have the ability right now to offer amendments, do they not?
So the way the agendas are set up for committees, the action items are listed. There is always the opportunity to add to that agenda. It says on the, what do you call it, the overall agenda or the packet, that something can be added if there's an action item that is being requested. Typically, I'd say 99% of the time by the administration.
Could I ask, just for kind of public clarification, say one of us would like to bring forth some sort of idea for a new law, rule, ordinance, whatever the situation may be, what would be the best way to do that? How would we go about bringing up the discussion?
I think that's already in the rules of council. There is a mechanism, and I want to say, apologize.
I know I've read them, but I feel like just since we're on this topic, this would be a good time to review that.
Maybe a good idea is just to have Jeff go through what he did for the bees.
Oh, yeah.
Or let Grant talk.
Great.
Sit down.
I was going to reply to Ms. Hicksman's question.
Go ahead.
It's specifically, it's Rule 7 under legislation. It talks about members of council may prepare proposed ordinances or resolutions, but just given the nature of ordinances and resolutions, a lot of time it's required to that be presented to the director of law prior to that, and then it would be forthwith, once the form would be acceptable, it would be submitted to the president of the council for referral. Mm-hmm.
But I want to follow up on what Mr. Rozelle and Mr. Schilling said. We are faced oftentimes with challenges of transparency and the community, and even sometimes amongst the people that are on this dais. And if you are able to just come and just randomly bring up different stuff, I think you're going down a very slippery slope that we don't want to go down. The community needs to know what we're going to be talking about at that particular committee meeting. I don't think, to follow up with Madison's point, I think you guys kind of dovetailed each other. If somebody says, hey, this made me think about this, what if we did this? That's an appropriate thing to say, okay, let's talk about it, let's present it to the law director will schedule a new committee meeting. But I think the agenda of each committee meeting, and maybe I'm not fully interpreting what Mr. Schilling is talking about, but I think what the subject matter and what we're going to talk about on each meeting should be said. I don't want to have a meeting that we're going to dispose of extra property and all of a sudden somebody come up and talk about funding the parks. I mean, that's just not what we do. And that's not fair, honestly, to the community at large who would potentially be subject to issues that we talk about without them knowing to come and give their input. So,
And very confusing.
And I would say too, I mean, I think it's the same process that we've seen occasionally when people come with a question at a council meeting, and then we indicate that we want to look further into that. Staff can bring something, the president can assign it to a committee, and then it gets a fuller discussion, a more informed discussion. Not that people can't ask questions, but as Mr. Seifert said, it is on a committee agenda and people know what we're discussing and we have all the information that's needed.
I think what I was trying to do here is formalize what you said. In other words, that we do have the ability, except in the special meeting, we did not have that ability to do that, by the way. But I think we could formalize it to say that exactly as you said, is that as the discussions progressed and we say, well, hey, we may need something more here, or we need, I'm not saying that, we necessarily propose legislation, but I think it's something that we have to have that flexibility to expound or expand our discussions to cover what's pertinent, what's going on. And I think we need to formalize that, and that's what we were attempting to do here, number one.
What I just described occurs now and would take no changes.
It's not formalized.
Well,
It's exactly how things occur. It doesn't need any formalization. Any discussion at committees.
Where
can take
is it
place.
in the council rules of procedure that we have the ability to do that?
To have a discussion at committee?
No, to exactly what we're talking about. In other words, adding things, or, as we say, we have the ability to add, or like say if we wanted to.
I think if I understood Mr. Seaver, we don't agree with adding things to an agenda unless it's been publicly announced.
I think you have some leeway of when watching the committee meetings tonight. What every chairman sits up and says, you have any questions? You have any questions on the agenda? And you can, if you're not going to go like Todd on a different subject, I think you have an opportunity to say, hey, maybe we need to talk about this.
Well, again, I
Or
go
file your minority
back
report.
to the July 14th meeting, and we were not allowed by the committee chairman to do any adding, making any suggestions
Okay.
what was put before us in this meeting. And I just don't think that's right, and I think we need to do something about that.
So
I don't recall that
Chair,
meeting, Mr. Schilling, but I guess
I
my
do.
point
It's the April
is.
14th, or not April,
July
July 14th.
But if what
No,
is-
I don't.
Especially at the end of the meeting.
Mr. Schilling, I'm not arguing that maybe something occurred, but I guess my point is, I'm not sure what you're stating and what I'm stating are significantly disparate. The issue, if your question is, do you think you have the right to ask questions about something that's substantively related to what the committee is discussing, I think we all agree that can happen. I think that's
I'm
what
saying it is, but
saying.
we were in the case of, saying that's not formalized, by the way, in the rules of procedure. It's been a standard practice, but it's not in writing anywhere in procedures.
Well, but what
So-
you've proposed says that you can, as long as it would normally be considered or assigned to the committee in session. So you say you want to raise questions, offer amendments, or suggested legislation, as long as the questions or would be considered assigned to the committee in session.
Right.
As you wrote that, if we adopt this as written, then the example that I just gave would be illustrative of what could potentially happen. You could say, we're here to dispose of surplus property, and two committee members say, hey, we want to go spend $5 million on baseball fields, and you could come in here and say, oh, well, this isn't on the committee agenda today, but it's going to be assigned to the finance committee, and we want to go forward and spend that amount of money on baseball fields, even though there's been no public input or anybody else. So maybe, I think what you're saying is perhaps correct. I just don't think you want it worded the way that it's worded on here. You just want to be able to say, hey, if I have questions, I want to be able to express those.
I have questions.
Related to the substantive
Yeah, okay,
substantive
I think we
matter.
can make it related to what's in front of the committee.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure we have that ability to do that, because like say, in the committee meeting on the 14th of July, we did not have that ability to do that.
But if there's only one instance where you're saying that this has occurred, then that
Well,
seems to me
okay.
not to be our practice.
And I understand it, and again, I've been on council for 6 years. And I've had one meeting that's been conducted that way, and I thought it was an aberration, and it's never sit with me well. And we're here tonight, we have an opportunity to talk about our procedures, and I'm telling you, if it happened then, it can happen again, and it'll happen to you.
I feel like you felt like you were cut off.
Absolutely.
And that's the bottom line. If it relates to the agenda, then you ought to be able to finish your comment.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I just don't know if you need legislation to, I'll be honest with you, as you guys saw, I was late. I didn't go back and review them, but maybe Grant can pipe in if he feels it's sufficient or not sufficient to accomplish that. My concern was you said that you could do something separate, and.
Well, I would
I
take
don't-
out the legislation. I think that, that may be an overreach.
Yeah.
But I think the questions and amendments, we have to have the ability to do that, and it has to be listed in our rules of committee.
Do we have anything in the rules that say that you can't ask questions about the subject matter it happens?
If you disagree, isn't that the minority report?
Well, there's a number of different avenues that can address what you're mentioning. One, yes, there can be a minority report. Additionally, there could be a situation where if the committee feels that, hey, look, we're being asked to do this, but it may impact something over here. I don't think it's appropriate. You could say as a committee, well, let's not move forward with this let's reconvene as the committee and consider it in 2 weeks, and then get some more information about that, or ask the president of council to expand the scope of the meeting to address the impacts it could have in a different area. So, within the committee, there can be discussions to make sure that all the voices are heard, as it's structured now.
We were not allowed to submit a minority report on that. It was not, we were not allowed to.
Unfortunately, I was
discuss
not
it.
at that meeting, so I can't address.
It's not a committee meeting, was it?
I
Was it
think,
just a
I think
presentation?
it's important to remember what the meeting was. And that was an update. That was not we didn't make any recommendations at that meeting.
We
So
weren't allowed to.
it was not on the agenda.
Let him have his
With
say.
a
We'll go back here.
report saying, we're recommending this, this, and this. There were questions that had come up, and so we answered those questions. Hey, where are we at? What does the design look like? What path are we on based on the feedback that we had gotten from, I believe, 2 different public forums prior to that? So there was no action item on the agenda. I think that's an important distinction, Mr. Schilling, because, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm just, this was a unique discussion. We rarely have those discussions unless they are a committee of the whole meeting. In this case, it was a streets and sidewalks, and it was, hey, this is where we're at. And I think at some point, if I go back to the minutes, that's where you asked, hey, I'd like to take a formal vote on this.
Well, there's
And nobody was prepared to do that, and that was not advertised that way. Well, you can look over there. I'm just saying, from the administration side, we were just giving you, here's where we're at. We were not prepared to debate, whether we could what the impact might be, what the additional costs might be if recommendations came out that were contrary to everything that we had done with the consultant, with the approval of the council prior to that. It's just an important distinction to keep in mind. It was a unique situation and not your standard committee.
Exactly what I'm saying is it was a unique situation. There's no provisions in our rules of procedure for these unique situations, and we as a council have to make a decision. Do we want to have the ability to have this unique decision, or, in my opinion, every council meeting that we have, unless it's called as a special committee meeting by the president with a vote of council,
We've
is
had
it going to be
certain-
will be a regular council meeting with the ability to make, suggested changes, if you want to call those amendments, then, but at least, have that flexibility to do that. We cannot, the special meeting stuff is not into the procedures, and that's why I say either we have to put it in the procedures, or we don't have it in the procedures and ban it.
Gentlemen, if I may.
The special meeting thing is a different thing.
No, first of all,
Wait a minute.
no,
Mr. Schilling,
Calm down, Pete.
so this, the special, there is really no such thing as a special committee meeting.
we had one.
No.
Yes, you did. He defined it as a special meeting.
He can call it a special meeting, but it was not technically a special meeting.
Then why
It
were
was
we
a
not allowed to,
meeting-
well, then why were we not allowed to submit, if it was a regular meeting of council committee, then why were we not able to make a minority report?
I think you
Which
have to-
actually wasn't a minority report, it would have been a majority report.
Because there was no request for any kind of recommendation. 99.9% of everything that you do in the committee is generated by reports from the administration under my signature. So, and they always have a recommendation with them, some with emergency, some without. We just had eight other committee reports that were acted on earlier today. This was special because it was a unique, a very rare occurrence where there had been some questions and we were asked, can you give an update on where we're at with the streetscape project? What's being designed, because there was some confusion there. We provided that report. We did not have any action related to it. And I believe that in the course of your discussion, you wanted to turn that into some action. And what I would say, Mr. Schilling, is that we've had cases where, there might have been an action item on there, there might not have been. And if there was some confusion or question, there are multiple examples over the last 20 years anyway, where we've gone to another one, we've extended or scheduled an additional committee meeting, and we've pivoted to maybe it wasn't a recommendation at first, but now you're interested in seeing some more discussion about it, so we go to another meeting. When you say special committee meeting, it's really not a special committee meeting. Only the last 6 years, I think, or less, have we standardized around Mondays. Prior to that, we were scheduling meetings at the convenience of the committee people.
Chairman.
Even with the Monday standing night, there are things that come up, and so they might be on a Wednesday, or they might be on a Thursday, and it might be a one or two item.
I agree with that, Mr. Chittinger, we're going on here, but the question is that when we hold these meetings at a different date, those are still committee meetings.
Okay.
And what we held on July 14th was a committee meeting of the streets and sidewalk. And therefore, that gives us, in my opinion, it would give us the ability, like we do in all the other meetings, to say, okay, we want to change this, and we'll make a recommendation to council to do this. And if it had to go, nobody said, well, we'll have to go to another committee meeting or anything, but there were some, some of us wanted to make some recommendations. We were not permitted to do that, but this thing was billed as a special meeting of the streets and sidewalk. Now, in the future, then you can do this under committee of the whole or whatever you want to do it, but I don't think that As I say, I don't think it behooves us to have these special meetings and then not have the ability to function as a regular committee, and that's what we're talking about here.
But I think, Mr. Schilling, as you indicated, that happened once in the 6 years you've been on here.
If it happened once,
Well,
see if it'll happen
but you
again.
don't change laws just because one thing happened. I mean, that's, anyways, I don't have a lot more time. I don't mean to sneak out, but I'm in somebody's borrowed car that I've got to take back to them.
Mr. President, let me clarify this, because.
That's fine.
This meeting was a clarification meeting because of questions that were outstanding that were going to be answered. We had already, the committee, the Streets and Sidewalks Committee, had already met the previous Monday prior to that, 2 weeks.
2 weeks before that.
And had a recommendation by that committee to come forward to council to vote on. If, and I indicated that to Mr. Schilling at the time, that if you wanted to change a vote or if you wanted to amend anything, that was the appropriate time to do it at the next council meeting, the next Monday. And this was a question and answer thing. There was no action item to come before us. We were not able to change the recommendation because we had a standing recommendation by a vote of the entire committee to go forward to council. So that's where we were. We weren't going to be argumentative over it. All of the questions were asked, council, people in the audience, et cetera. And when it did get heated at the end, we're not going to have heated arguments. So everybody had an opportunity. I do apologize if you felt you were cut off, but you were given ample opportunity to state your opinion, which you did. So that's what happened, and that's what the meeting was about.
And again, I go back that we were not permitted to make any recommendations. In other words, if a piece of legislation goes to a committee, and then that piece of legislation comes back to the committee, which is essentially what was happening here, and you say, well, it was just informational, everything, I don't know. But anyway, we would have the ability to review that. And again, under what I'm talking about, we would have the ability to review that piece of legislation and make recommendations if we wanted to change something. In this scenario, we did not have that opportunity to do that.
Not because that's not what the meeting was for. We had
And that's exactly what I'm saying. I want a committee meeting. I want to have the ability to do the whole thing. I don't want to waste my time with a
the ability
special,
to do that was
special
that.
meeting. I think it's
The
just,
ability
it's
was
not
to do
right.
that was
Gentlemen,
at the
Is this a
council meeting.
motion?
Time out, guys. I got a question for Mr. Kerber. As we're going through these, if we decide to change or not change these, do we vote on each one of them? Or can we vote on each one of them, or?
We sure.
Because we're not.
There's not a motion.
We don't have a motion, we don't have a second,
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what
know,
we're
but I mean,
doing.
when we get there, I mean,
Given that there's 3 different action items, there might be a difference of opinion. I think you could proceed either way, but before you would entertain a motion to address all 3, I would ask council if there was any objections to
all three.
treating them all 3 together, and that you potentially could have a vote on that issue.
I do have a quick question, because I do feel like this could potentially come up, let's say with the Duke Park renovation. That's our next massive project. So say, not saying this will happen, but I think it's an easy example. So say staff brings the consultant's layout of what they think would be best for Duke Park, and anybody disagrees with a component of it, an aspect of it, whatever you may say, what would be the proper way to then voice that? I typically feel like I have no problem emailing Mr. Chitterington and getting an answer that way. You know,
Or there, it would either be a committee of the whole, or there would be a parks.
Or Parks and Rec.
There'd be a, that's probably not the best example, because it'd be a parks board and then come to us, but it would be then the parks committee, and then we would do that. And we've done that. We did that on, medical dispensaries. I mean, we've had a number of where we've had presentational discussions before.
And
I mean,
we did it on
I
the
do-
streetscapes.
I don't recall Mr. Schilling's issues. I understand he's upset by that, but I don't know. You should be able to express your wishes, and that's council as part of that on what you want to do. But it sounds like the forum wasn't the appropriate forum for where that should have been.
Or the classification of, maybe the wording we use.
And ultimately, anything that gets discussed at a committee can also be discussed at a council meeting, because that's
Yes.
where the recommendation is going, so.
Okay. Item
But
number
I would
2.
move that we do all three at once.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I'll third that.
You want
we-
to announce the
You want to do a
Is that
vote
by
on,
acclamation,
do we need to do a vote on all three at once?
or without objection?
You got a motion and a
If you're,
Unless there's an objection,
unless you want to cover 2 and 3, or you want,
Yeah, I just said let's do all three at once. I think we know
Okay.
2 and 3.
And again, the last one we talked about here was number 3, is that committee meeting and session cannot be concluded, ended, or adjourned with, except by a majority vote of the members present, or in case of tie, it'd be decided by the chairman. The same thing, I don't think we were done with the discussion, and yet the council, the meeting was ended abruptly. And so again, this is something that's not in, how do we dismiss a committee meeting? It's not in our rules of procedure,
the chairman does it like you want it done.
and I'm saying it should be a majority vote.
Well, usually it's the end of discussion.
Yeah.
And you're saying you weren't done with the discussion.
Formally end of discussion.
Yes. But personally, you guys, to me, you're all equal, so you're a chairman, I don't think you should have any more weight than, I mean, you run the meeting, but you shouldn't have any other weight more than your other elected officials.
Well, in case of some bullheaded people, we'd be sitting here all year long waiting for this.
Let's keep it civil
End of a
here,
meeting.
Jeffrey. But
I disagree. I think the committee chairperson should run the meeting as they best see fit. I think they're the person.
But you shouldn't have to.
I don't
think you
know.
should
I
have two
don't think so.
votes.
I think you should be answerable
Yeah.
in public and private to the people you're on your committee with. I think they should also be the ones dictating the latitude to which the committee can go. We have meetings. We had a meeting today for community partnerships about Harlinger Park. That could just as easily have gone to Parks and Rec. So I mean, what gets discussed in what meeting? I mean, we've had people not be able to attend and wildly outside of the scope, quote unquote, committees get discussed, items get discussed in those committees. So in theory, you could talk about anything. Ultimately, I think we should give first among equals power to the chairman of the committee to decide what happens in that committee meeting.
And that's why when there's a tie, the chairman decides. I agree with that.
Mr. President, if we're
Yes,
going to
ma'am.
have further discussion, can we have a motion to see if we want to have any more discussion? I mean, I don't know if we've had a formal motion so that we can all decide.
Got a motion.
But
We had a-
but we don't have to have a vote
do
on
all
that.
three.
You've already granted we don't have a vote on that. So really, I think Mr. Schilling needs to make a motion on adopting these rules, and then we'll see if there's a second.
Is that correct?
Is that how you should do it, Grant?
Well, I think the council president should see if there's any objections to treating it all three at the
Okay,
same time.
we'll ask that, but then after that, is he correct? Do we have any objections on making a motion to accept all three of these together as opposed to individually?
I would say, do we want to amend any of the motions first?
Do you want to?
Well, I mean, we talked about number one, and again, maybe we need to rewrite that, I don't know, but anyway, we talked about removing the ability to submit the legislation. But again, I think we still should have the ability to ask questions and
But I think, Mr. Kirby, didn't you say that exists?
You have the ability to amend.
it's not in, what we have the ability to do in committee is not in the rules of procedure.
Mr. Kerber?
First
Sorry.
off, Mr. Schilling, if you would restate that, so I want to make sure I'm replying to.
Okay,
do have
I would
that.
say, what I'd like to do here, Mr. Kerber, again, I said, suggest, to raise questions, offer amendments to, or suggest legislation, as so long as, okay, so we would take out the suggest legislation. In other words, that we want to still have the ability to raise questions or offer amendments.
Okay, well, first off, under the committee structure, there is no requirement that if something is in front of the committee, there is no requirement that they act on that committee date. So if more information is needed, more discussion is needed, if you garner support from one other committee member, or if it's the council of the whole, if you get, 4 other council members to say, let's reconvene and consider these other types of things, then those other items can be brought up, and that's contemplated. So you do have that ability to,
In council.
in the committee. I'm talking about the committee, and my understanding,
4-member vote.
Well, he's.
a committee of a
You
whole.
missed the first part. He said
Committee
the
of a
committee,
whole.
get your
Committee of the
answer.
whole, but this is, again, this is for all, I mean, it's not, we're talking about all the committee. In other words, just have the ability to say, hey, I've got these questions that need to be answered. This is not formalized in our rules of procedure. I think it should be formalized.
He addressed that before he went to the committee as a whole by saying you need to get another member on the committee. So you are the majority to offer saying, hey, we need more time. We need another meeting,
We would like to make an amendment.
whatever.
Yeah, because the council president goes ahead and assigns those things to committee, and if that's the report that comes out of the committee that we need more time, there would be another report at that point in time. Additionally, council, they have the ability to take something back from the committee once it's gone there. So there's processes presently in place to deal with log jams or if there's need for additional deliberation.
Right. Here, Mr. Schilling, the July 14th meeting, I will go back and watch it, but I've heard Mr. Phillips apologize for the way that came to an abrupt issue. I don't know that the solution is to do a wholesale change of the way that we've done the rules. We spent a lot of time redoing these rules probably 4 years ago, two years ago. And so I would respectfully call the question on the motion that that's been presented.
Which is that we deal with them all at once?
That's the motion before the floor, right? Or before the
I
council?
thought that was approved without objection.
What's your day job?
Misunderstood that.
Mr. President, you understand you got a motion and a second.
You seconded?
I did.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bobby said.
Okay,
Now,
no objections.
And a question called.
we're calling the roll to vote on this, correct? Roll call or whatever.
Do you want a roll call?
Sure. Mr. Seaver,
Yes.
Do you want me
for the
to,
duo.
Mr. Seaver,
To do all three at one time?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed,
okay, do you want me to do the roll or you?
whatever.
Okay. Mr. Seaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed.
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall.
Yes.
Mr. Schilling,
Yes.
Mrs. Marshall,
Yes.
Mr. Whidden,
Yes.
Ms. Hickman,
Yes.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
Mr. Twist.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Schilling's going to move to adopt this, correct?
I would, I'd first make an amendment to remove the legislation in number 1.
Right.
I need a second for that.
Second. You're removing the verbiage?
The verbiage about the legislation.
Okay. Does anybody want a second? Removing the verbiage.
I just don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Okay, so you didn't get a second on that, so you want to make a
Well,
motion
okay,
for your rules? or
let's
what?
move to adopt. Okay.
Anybody have a second?
You guys live with it. That's all I can tell you. Because it's going to happen again.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we continue with the current procedures and policies of council.
I don't think we have to do that, do we,
No,
Mary?
we have to adopt.
You have
Probably,
to-
yeah, we have to pass them, we have to
Okay.
pass them so far.
Manual.
Motion by Mr. Phillips.
Second.
Second by Mr. Twist.
Second.
Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Twist,
Yes.
Mr. Phillips,
Yes.
Ms. Hickman,
Yes.
Mr. Whidden,
Yes.
Mrs. Marshall,
Yes.
Mr. Schilling,
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall,
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed,
Yes.
Mr. Seaver.
Yes.
Motion is adopted. So this will actually, though, be, actually, a motion has to happen at council meeting, I believe.
Yep.
Yes. Not normally there. I mean, no, there's no
Use what
legislation.
motion or
Just via, I can do it.
That's what it is.
All right. Thank you very, very much for the extra time staying. Public as well as council members.
We are a committee of the council.
We are adjourned. See you next week.
Watch the quorum.